Go again, yo homies. Wade Willis here, doing my breakdown of Higurashi Go episode 22. And guys, wow, this was crazy to say the least. I did not expect them to go in some of the ways that they went. Like, I knew that we were going to kind of see things through Satoko's eyes. Everyone kind of thought that's what was going to happen. I didn't expect to see her do like a few more loops where she tries to change Rika's opinion of wanting to go to the school. Yeah, we actually got that, and that part was somewhat endearing for Satoko. I'm like, okay, she's like trying to go about this, and she's taking her own life and then starting over. I could see where she was going with that. Did I agree with what she's doing necessarily? No, but I could see mentally where she's going. And yeah, guys, before I go any further, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I have tons of When They Cry videos and tons of other anime videos as well. And yeah, I'm playing Umineko as well. And in this video, guys, I'm doing kind of like a breakdown and analysis, and then later on in the video I'm going to go through like different theories and stuff that I find are pretty interesting. And yeah, I'll let you guys know when I go into the theory spot if you only want like a breakdown of the episode. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, someone who comments like in my videos a lot, Lambda Delta, he pointed out that he thought it was interesting, and he compared Featherine kind of pouncing on Satoko at her weakest. Like, she waited like 100 years to finally like swipe up Satoko. Waited that 100 years. It was very similar to how Palpatine really latched onto Anakin at the perfect time. I thought that was like a really cool similarity, and I just wanted to note that. But yeah, back to Satoko. Eventually, Satoko finally starts to realize like it doesn't seem like Rika is actually going to like change, because Rika doesn't have like her memories every time. So each time it's just Rika mentally the same as she was in the previous loop, and just things around them are happening a little bit different. Eventually, Feathering kind of like spills the beans, like, yeah, well, Rika's lived over 100 years in Hanimazawa, and Satoko is like, wait, no, like maybe a dozen, and I had thought that Rika had actually told Satoko about her looping skills. Someone in the comments from my last video told me that she did, but it was one that they were unsuccessful. So in the one that they were successful, Satoko doesn't know that Rika has that ability. So if I'm wrong with that, let me know, but that actually did make sense because I felt like I remember her saying it in Kai. And so Satoko gets this information that Rika's gone through this horrible tragedy, like hundreds of years worth. And this for me is where anyone that's like was like a serious Satoko apologist and just like really repping Satoko and like Rika's horrible. This is where their argument, well, they did have an argument in the last two episodes. Now it's gone because of how Satoko goes about this is the worst possible way to go about it, in my opinion. Some people may think what she's doing is okay. I, I don't know if I trust your opinions on a lot of things if you think Satoko's choice is the right one. And believe me, Rika has made tons of mistakes. She's not perfect. Just she would not do what Satoko's doing in this situation. So in my reaction video, one of my favorite comments was this guy, and I'm gonna post the screenshot of the comment, and he said that that moment when Satoko decides to binge watch the OG Higurashi and Higurashi Kai, um, I mean that really spoke true to it, and this is where I'm gonna kind of branch off into why I have so many issues with Satoko's choice. Um, because she gets to a point where she's like, oh, like, Featherine, or some people are just saying the horned lady, whatever. I'm just going to call her Featherine. She shows her one of the loops, and Satoko sees what happens, sees the tragedy that Rika's going through, and is like, you know what? Let's make Rika go through this even more. She almost broke before. I'm going to go through. I need to learn as much as possible. All of a sudden, she's like, has a thirst for knowledge and is going to go through the 100 years of loops, learning every single small, minute thing to understand how everything works, how Rika is going to work in each situation, and be able to break Rika. Now, a lot of people were like sticking up for Satoko, saying like, oh, she didn't need to like study and do all this stuff, like Rika's expectations, whatever. Fair, until she did this. Like, the option you choose is to go and study hundreds of years of torturing and suffering, but you cannot study math. I I cannot fathom the logic behind this, but that's just me. And over this 100 years, Satoko really transforms into a yandere. Um, she's very possessive of Rika, and that's kind of like the stereotypical thing of a yandere. It's about possession of someone that you love. Um, and I've kind of come up with a few different options that Satoko could have done instead of choosing to spend 100 years learning every move of Rika's and like essentially choosing to torture her and try to break her mentally after that. One option, loop to get smarter and smarter. So eventually, I don't know, maybe this would take 2 loops, not 100, maybe 4 at most. But you're going to have all this knowledge of theories, formulas. You're going to know all these different topics to talk about to sound intellectual. Also, developing social skills with people outside of Hanimizawa in this school. Again, you could loop a few times. Is that experience the same as what Rika went through? Seeing her friends go crazy and torture and kill people? No. But she could have become smarter, developed social skills, all these things that, I don't know, maybe is useful for an adult. That could have been a useful use of her looping abilities. I don't know. Two, you have a lot of time. Again, she learned all this stuff about every minute thing with Rika and how these loops work. I don't know, maybe research and try to find a cure for Satoshi. You got hundreds of years, unlimited time. Keep looping, learn all that information, find a cure for your brother. Is that a wild thought? I don't know. Two, instead of going to school with Rika, go to school with Rena, Mion, and Keiichi. Whoa, what a concept. Yes, Rika would have tried to push you, but if you told her you're not going, she has a choice. You don't have to go with her. Before she does that 100 years, um, Satoko kind of she starts to realize that um, she's not able to make changes with Rika because Rika doesn't remember what happened. And it's just Rika starting new over and over again. She asks for Rika to be able to remember up to a certain point so that she will learn from the mistakes that she made. And this is so Satoko can kind of break her mentally. I don't know, here's a thought. Maybe you use this skill. Again, maybe if she told Feathering what I'm about to say, Feathering wouldn't have given her the ability. Who knows, though? I think she would have found this interesting in a whole other way. But how about you have Rika remember everything and you make her see that when you go to the school, she's going to treat you like shit. And then she learns from this and is a different person in your school experience. I mean, this is some big brain shit here. I haven't lived 100 years in loops like Satoko and Rika have, but I feel like some of these ideas are all better than Satoko's choice. But that's just me. Again, last week, completely understand people like sticking up for Satoko. Some people have gone through uh, trauma that Satoko's gone through, and I understand them really having her back. But it doesn't give you the once she saw the horror that Rika went through and all that, and then just choosing to be so possessive that like no, I'm gonna break her mentally so that she's stuck with me and Animazawa like she's her property. Not right. But yeah, last week you guys had some really solid points because Rika did do things bad. I feel like Rika, yes, she should have been wise because she had 100 years of knowledge, all this stuff. Seeing how Rika ended up after 100 years of that torture compared to Satoko, who now is the same age as Rika mentally. She's lived through hundreds of years of loops. Um, she's gone absolutely crazy. I would say Rika turned out pretty damn good 100 years later. Maybe being not super nice to her friend she grew up with and hanging out with some bougie people, not as bad as choosing to mentally break your best friend by having her friends constantly killed and just torturing her. I don't know. I think that Rika turned out a bit better. And then the last point that I thought was really important in the episode, when Feathering gives Satoko this ability, she tells her, yeah, when the cat dies before you in the loops, both of you are going to get transported to the same fragment. I think that's going to be really important, and I'm going to jump into that later on uh, in a later part of my theories. But yeah, right now I'm going to get into my theories part. So if you only wanted to hear a breakdown and me ranting about Satoko, even though I do like Satoko, I just hard to have her back after this episode, in my opinion. You guys that have been watching my videos for a while, I kind of go into a bunch of smaller ones and kind of just throw stuff out the wall. Um, One of my buddies, and his name is Gotchaholic. I'm gonna link his profile in the description, and one of his videos. I'm gonna link it as well. He does really good, like intense breakdowns of Higurashi, finding all these flaws and fallacies like in the story and how different people look suspicious. He had this really in-depth video that he posted this week on kind of like why he thinks Rena is going to be a major player at the end of this season and why she's suspicious to him. Really great video, so check that out. And yeah, definitely subscribe to his channel because he goes into stuff in extreme detail. And like he finds stuff I'm like, oh dang, I totally forgot about that. So yeah, definitely check out Gotchaholic. First off, I think it seems like everyone's kind of on the side of okay, we're gonna pick up right where episode 17 left off in the next episode. The reason why we think this, and I agree with everyone, we got 2 episodes left. How the hell are they going to do like another episode all through Satoko's eyes? Um, I do think that we may get some like description of how Satoko did things by like her kind of like we're gonna have that standoff with her and Rika, and Satoko will probably just kind of like talk some shit and be like, "Yeah, this is how I did it." Kind of like how villains do stuff in movies all the time. I can kind of see Satoko like do that, or Rika kind of guess how things happen. So I don't think they're gonna do oh, let's see everything through her eyes again. They're going to just kind of explain what happened real quick. Maybe 5 minutes. They may not even do that and may kind of be a mystery as to how she was infecting the people. Next one, and this is something Lambda Delta, who I mentioned earlier, he said that he could see like Rika killing Satoko with the shard. I completely agree that something with that shard is going to happen. And I agree with him. I can't really see Satoko killing Rika with the shard because the whole point of Satoko doing this is to teach Rika a lesson, and she's so dependent on Rika and like the possession thing. I just can't see her killing her. Now I could see Rika doing it to Satoko, hoping that it doesn't kill her and it just like kills her looping ability and the old Satoko comes back. Um, Maybe Satoko we find out is actually maybe like possessed in some way. It doesn't seem like it, but maybe we find that out. She gets stabbed with the shard. Maybe the witch or whatever was possessing her is kind of like uh, shot out or something like that. Um, it could actually kill Satoko, and that would be an interesting reason. That could really change Rika, and I feel like kind of like kill her inside. And I'm not very far in Umineko, so I'm not gonna like spoil it. I can't really spoil much, but the way uh, Burn Castell is, it's like Rika, but like a kind of like more dead inside version. At least that's how it appears to me. Satoko, her actually killing Satoko could kind of lead to her going down that path. That's just me. And yeah, if you're an Umineko fan, don't spoil the ending for for us or anything. Or if you're gonna talk about it, let us know Umineko spoilers in the comments. The next one, I'm going to go into, okay, we talked about how the cat, which is Rika, if she's killed before Satoko, they're both transported to the same fragment. I could see them end the season with um, maybe not even the fragment, but just Satoko being killed before Rika and being sent to another fragment than this Rika that she spent all this time trying to manipulate. Maybe Satoko tries to do the same thing again, uh, but she may give up. There's a lot of different options, and maybe she keeps killing herself to try to get to the same fragment. There's could be millions of them that the Rika she worked on is at that time. So I think that could be an interesting way of maybe going into a season two. Guys, I feel like we have to have a season two. I really don't see how they can tie this story up with a bow um, in 2 episodes. There's just way too much left. And if they did do it, and I said this before, I just don't think it would be a good ending if they ended it in 2 episodes. They're going to need another season. Here's a crazy one I kind of came up with. Um, I I think it would be interesting if somehow Satoko's given the ultimatum of, okay, you can have Rika trapped with you forever, or you can cure your brother. There's nothing to support this theory. I just think this would be a really cool interesting theory, and I'd be willing to bet money Satoko would choose the Rika one, even though just because she's so like warped and in the weeds now, and just mentally destroyed from all these loops. Uh, I think that would be a really interesting way to end this season, or even perhaps the show. Again, I want it to be longer, but I think that would be a really cool way or a cool thing to have in the show. It would be sad as hell, but really impactful for sure. Then my last one, I think that Takano will have a full redemption arc where she kills Satoko to save Rika, and in the action of doing that is ends up being killed by Satoko at the same time. So this is going to again back to the cat has to die before Satoko thing. That's going to save Rika from being in the same fragment as this crazy Satoko, and it's also going to redeem herself for all the horrible things she did to Rika over and over and over again. So, yeah, that's my final theory. I like a few of these. I think they're pretty interesting. Again, some of them I came up with myself, so that's probably why I like them more. But I love to hear your guys' theories in the comments below. Sorry if I bashed Satoko a bit much, but I mean, it's hard not to after this episode. And I'm not trying to bash people who like love Satoko. You guys had really valid points up until this episode. I haven't seen anyone try to defend her. After this episode, it's kind of like, well, shoot. And believe me, I could have been wrong. They could have done the same thing with Rika. We could have seen her do horrible things, and I would have looked. My arguments would have been null and void all of a sudden. So, not trying to bash Satoko. I do like her as a character, but I don't like her right now in the story. I'll tell you that. Comment your theories below if you're getting into like real Umineko stuff. Just put Umineko spoilers. Again, I'm only in like chapter 2 of Umineko. I still got a long way to go. But yeah, check out my playthrough of that too.